Hey there, it's Sunshine, the pink-haired psychic medium, and I'm here to talk to you today about something that might be on your mind. And that is a virtual psychic medium as good as an in-person psychic medium? But of course, maybe you don't quite know exactly what I mean by that. So we're going to start off by defining that. What is a virtual psychic medium? What does it mean when we actually talk about virtual? This means that your session, your one-on-one session, or the work, the guidance that you're provided is done over something like video conferencing software, maybe even over the telephone, possibly over chat, right? There are some chat programs. It could even be delivered in a video like this directly to your email, right? In other words, you're not sitting directly across from that psychic medium. You can't necessarily reach out and touch them, right? They're not sharing the same space at you. And if you recall what I said, there is even the possibility that you would have it recorded and delivered after the fact. So it might not actually even be done live. That's what a virtual session is. It's a lot more flexible. It actually provides the opportunity for more people to get a reading, but we're going to go into some of those benefits a little bit later. So if that's a virtual psychic medium session, maybe it's pretty easy to understand what an in-person one is, right? So you are literally sitting in front of that psychic medium. You're sharing the same space with them, right? Often, a lot of psychic mediums, a lot of readers will be working at like a metaphysics shop. Might be a shop that actually specializes in this. Maybe you're driving down the street and you see one of those neon signs that says psychic readings or tarot readings, right? That's going to be an in-person. Sometimes readers will sit up or find arrangements like to be at a coffee shop. I've actually known someone that has done it at flower shops. Coffee shops are a big one. There is a bar that I actually know, not my jam, but there is a bar that I know a psychic will actually read out of. And sometimes you can even, psychic mediums may even do it in their homes, right? So I do open up my home to anybody that is local to come in and sit down and do a session with me. And I, have the house set up and everything to do that. So that's the difference, right? Like the really primary difference is, are you sharing the same space or are you not, right? And because frankly, it's not just the technology, right? Because I think you could use technology in person, right? Maybe there's technology to record the session or, anything of that nature. So that's the biggest difference, which if those are the definitions, if that's how we define the differences between these two types of sessions, in order for you to really, I guess, make your own judgment of are they as good as, right? It'd be important to understand what the benefits are between the two of them. And so I'm going to go through and share the benefits of an in-person psychic medium session and then a virtual psychic medium session. And interestingly enough, because some of you that may be watching this might be budding psychic mediums themselves, right? You might be learning. So I'm even going to share some of the benefits that the psychic receives, right? So as the individual that is purchasing the session that has said, hey, I have some things that I want to know about and I need to sit down with the psychic medium. The benefits of doing it in person is you can get a better energetic feel for that psychic, right? Literally, there are certain metaphysics shops that I walk into and immediately I can pick up and feel like, is this a place that I actually want to be exchanging and doing business in, right? So that's one of the benefits. You can pay them in cash, right? Let's say you're, you got a little bit of extra pocket cash squirreled away somewhere and you don't want the hubby or, your partner to find out that you spent some money on a psychic because maybe that's just not their jam and they judge you. I mean, so you can pay them in cash. And then the other thing too is you can feel as though they're legitimate, like they're not just someone standing on the other side of the phone with a cigarette hanging out of their mouth, doing their dishes. I'm like, yeah, sure, right? You can literally see that they're legitimate and they're invested in the time that they're spending with you. So that is the benefit. From my perspective as a psychic medium, the benefits of doing an in-person session is I can read your energy, right? So I can read it virtually, but literally if we are physically in the same place, I can read your energy. I can also pick up better on your body language, right? Which helps me understand more of your energetic state. And even when I might be able to, I might need to navigate the conversation a little bit differently. So it definitely has benefits for me. I can also do psychometry, which is the ability to like pick up an object or touch an object and read out from that, right? So I can't do that if I'm virtual. And if we are using any type of divination tools like tarot cards or a pendulum board, tea leaves, anything of that nature, I can actually have you participate in it. Rather than me shuffling, I can have you shuffle. Rather than me picking the cards, I can have you picking the cards. Rather than me holding the pendulum, I can have you hold the pendulum, right? So there's all sorts of various different reasons why either the purchase person paying or the individual that is the psychic, there are benefits for both. Right? Which then, what are the benefits of the virtual session? Well, I don't know if you're anything like me, that you have a very busy schedule, even if that busy schedule includes doing nothing. But the first benefit, if you are looking for a psychic medium, one of the main reasons I find people love a virtual session for me is you can do it anywhere. You can do it anywhere. The second reason is you can find a psychic medium that's more aligned to you, regardless of wherever they may be, right? You can be picky. I have clients that work with me from all over the world, which I find absolutely amusing, but I love it because they've connected to me, they've picked me, they've selected me, and they've not allowed their location to get in the way of that. The other piece too is you can record it, right? So when things are done on a video like this, you can ask for the recording. You can, if it's actually delivered through email, right? You've got that recording. If it's a chat, you can copy and paste the whole thing and save it, right? All sorts of ways for you to be able to actually hold on to that session and review it at a few further time. And I have a lot of clients that do that. As far as for me, my benefits, right? It's easier for me to keep an energetic boundary, right? So when I'm doing in-person readings, especially when it's at events, anybody can kind of come up and sit down. Like I have a lot of protection up, but anybody can. So it's easier for me to keep a better energetic boundary when we are virtual. I can also do more elaborate pre or post session ritual. So I have certain ritual that I perform when I'm doing things virtually before I sit down with the client. When I'm in person, especially when I'm, reading people back to back to back, I don't have that luxury. I do a little bit of cleansing, but I have a lot more ability to do more grand ritual to help the client and even to help myself. And I can use technology to deliver a better experience. Right. So as a psychic medium, my clients, when they sit down and have a session with me virtually, they get the session, they get the recording, as well as a written transcript of it, all delivered to them within 48 hours, right? So to me, it leads for a better experience. Oh, by the way, not to mention that, they get reminders through email, they get reminders through text. It's really kind of fabulous, right? Helps for me to provide a better client experience. So of course, those are all the benefits, but there are downsides to both in-person as well as virtual. Right? So from an in-person, you're going to have to travel. If you are finding a local psychic medium near to you, you're going to have to travel to them. It is very, very rare that they will ever come to you unless you're hosting an event or a party, and there are multiple people for them to actually engage with. The other downside, you're limited in your options. Your location is going to make the determination of the type of psychic medium that you can actually connect to. So if you've ever been to one around and maybe they weren't your jam, fingers crossed, you've got some more, right? I actually have a psychic medium that works. They're in a rural town. They've shared, met them at one of the last events that I did. And they've been doing it for, I think, 30 years. And they say like they basically they're it. They're it. They're all that there is in their little hometown, which is why they venture out. And so can you imagine being in that instance, locally speaking, having one psychic, maybe you not connecting with them, right? So it gives you more options. From my perspective on this side of the seat, the downside, I can become energetically overwhelmed at in-person events, right? Not doesn't happen very often, but can happen. And let's be real, as I said, I have to limit the rituals, right? Sometimes this can mean I'm even limiting what I can provide to the client because I often like to do some cleansing rituals after we're done, right? To make sure that both myself and the client are in a good spot. And last but not least, for me, I if I want to do them in person, I have to have a space. So I have to have a shop that I'm working in, a coffee shop that has agreed to have me in there, or I have to have a location like my home that I feel comfortable enough to have folks in, right? As far as the downsides for a virtual psychic medium session, right? Downsides for you don't get any of that read available, right? You can't walk into their location. You can't pick up their energetic vibe by being in their presence and seeing their surroundings. And you can't use any of that information to determine how legitimate that they are, right? Don't let that fool you. You can put all of the pizzazz in the world out and be a showman and still not be a really good psychic. The downside for me, right? I can't use any type of psychometry. I can't use divination tools that my clients can interact with, right? So that's kind of the downside for me. There's not a lot though. My upsides for providing virtual sessions is much bigger than the downside. Which begs the answer, right? Here we go. I'm hoping at this point I've shared enough information for you to decide if they are as good as each other, which my personal opinion, is in person is as good as virtual. Frankly, I may even say virtual is a little bit better because of having that record that you get to take with you. But the question becomes, how do you choose whether or not you want a virtual or an in-person session? The very first thing, I hope this is a no-brainer, but the very first thing is, do you want to do this in the comfort and privacy of your own home? Or frankly, your own car? Because I can't tell you how many clients I've talked to that have been in their car. Right? So is that important to you? Is that going to make you feel more comfortable in that session? And if so, that answer is really easy. Choose the virtual route. The next is think about what you really want to get out of that session. What do you want it to entail? What kind of reading are you looking for? What kind of guidance are you looking for? Do you want to incorporate some type of healing in it? And then find an expert in that area. I'll give you an example. One of my expertise is opening up the Akashic records. This means I am absolutely incredibly good at past life, right? Past life. We want to explore past life and how it's affecting us today. We can do that, right? I am also a certified Reiki master. And so as we are in any of those past life scenarios, I can provide healing. Right? We can go back in and heal. So that is a place that I am an expert, but I am not an expert, let's say in tea leaf. I'm not an expert in numerology. So if you were to ask me things in relation to that, I'd be like, let me find you somebody else better to work with. So if you know what it is that you want, find an expert and allow that to help guide whether it's virtual or in person, right? Based upon where they are. Of course, I would absolutely love if you'd reach out to me. But if you're not ready to commit to yours truly, the last but not least is do more research, and do more research in one of two ways. You can go ahead and search online for virtual psychic mediums and take a look at any of the sites and the pages that come up. There's a couple of really great articles that compare some of the major companies that offer and employ, I'm probably independent contractor, a whole handful of psychic mediums. You could even take a look at any of the other ones that are working under the Sunshine Readings brand. But if you can't find what you're called for there, my second recommendation is talk to friends. Talk to any of your friends, your coworkers, your colleagues, and ask them if they've ever had a psychic reading, if they've ever talked with a medium. And if so, ask for their recommendation. Give those folks a call up, maybe even go in, visit them, and check them out. Allow that to decide. Regardless of which path you choose, virtual or in person, the number one thing that I recommend when working with a psychic is make sure when you are with them that you have a feeling of warmth and connection. All right? I hope that this has helped, and good luck on your journey finding your next psychic medium.